Hey loves, it's your girl, the Passport Sis. Let me start that over. It's your girl Mariah Sincere, aka the Passport Sis. Y'all, I've been working so hard. I have had a lot going on. For those of y'all who are new to my channel, I'm an American citizen, but I live abroad. So I've been in Colombia for the last year, but I just came to Peru on Sunday. I got here on Sunday and I'll be here for the next 3 months. So for those of y'all who are interested in travel content, follow me on TikTok because that is when I'm giving y'all all my play-by-plays. I'm showing y'all the activities I'm doing. I'm showing y'all me homeschooling my daughter. And for those of y'all who are unaware, I also help people who are interested in either leaving the United States or taking a extended 3 to 6 month sabbatical. I help people get their affairs in order so they can do that. So you can book me for that at ThePassportSis.com. With that said, if you are returning to my channel, welcome back. If you are new here, welcome. Please make sure that you hit that subscribe button because why not? We have bomb conversation and topics over here. I don't know if anybody will come to this live because I'm super late, but better late than never. Y'all catch the replay. With that said, I came across this video on the Cartier family's channel, and none other than Miss Amanda Seals was on there race rage baiting, right? So I'm going to react to the things she was saying as well as their reaction. What I will say is this conversation about this victimhood mentality that a lot of minorities have, but let's be clear, nobody does it better than certain folks. Okay. And I'm a part of that group, so I can say that nobody does it better than certain folks. It's getting old. Nobody wants to hear it. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you continue to make the same excuses for bad behavior, even if the excuses are valid, which I'm going to explain how a lot of these excuses are not even valid, but even if they are valid, people become numb to the excuses. They become numb to that because they're looking at the present. They're looking at how their material conditions or their safety has deteriorated, and they are forced to make a choice based on survival. And you better understand when it comes down to survival, if it's going to be you or them, they're going to pick them every time. That's just basic human psychology. So you can try to explain yourself away about why you do the things that you do, but people are going to build up a defense mechanism to it, especially when they see that you are making excuses or you are giving reasons, because they say they're giving reasons, but you have absolutely no intention of changing. People don't want to hear it. And it's just the truth. But let me go ahead and pull the video up. If you're just now coming in, please hit the like button. That helps people know that I'm on live. I'm going to share this video. This will be the only thing that I'm reacting to today because I'm kind of short on time. So I don't want to be on here any more than an hour because I need to go to sleep, y'all. I'm literally running off of like 4 hours of sleep from yesterday. You know, I do my best to work hard. 1 second. No, that's not what I want. I want to present. Share screen. Here we go. So this is on the Cartier family's page. It is entitled
right now for the
Woke Radical Forced to Face Brutal Truth About Black America. Now, this is not just any woke radical. Her name is Amanda Seals. And for those of y'all who don't know who Amanda Seals is, she played Insecure. I forgot the character that she played, but she played on that HBO series with Issa Rae, Insecure. She was the bougie friend with the down low husband. What else has she acted on? I don't even know, because honestly and truly, everything that she's done has been eclipsed by the fact that she has a completely unlikable personality. And she has convinced herself that people don't like her because she's more intelligent than everybody else. When to the contrary, in my opinion, she's not that intelligent. And furthermore, she doesn't understand that it's because she's so angry. She's so angry, and she's always getting on social media with her hair not done. People can get upset because I'm saying this, but it's just the reality. It's not a good look for you as a woman to constantly go live with your hair not done, no makeup on, looking homely. You don't have to wear makeup every day, but girl, why are your lips ashy? Why didn't you put on any lip gloss today? That's it. You ain't got to do yourself. Just put some lip gloss on and put some gel to your hair and put some clothes on. She's constantly, whenever she is triggered, getting on the internet and going on these long racist rants, and it's not a good look. So she says people doesn't like her because people don't like her because she's intelligent. When she's not offering any intelligent or original thoughts, all she's doing is spewing the same social justice talking points. But it comes off as the stereotypical angry Black woman, right? And it's not attractive, and she doesn't understand that. But she's gonna attribute it to people being dumber than her, or people not liking the things that she's saying because she's a Black woman saying them. And it has absolutely nothing to do with that. But y'all will see how nasty she is during this debate.
The Black community would be the stopping of violence, especially Black on Black violence. I don't see how reparations is going to solve anything. You can give everyone here like a $50,000 check, especially people that are in the streets who are committing violent crimes consistently. A $50,000 check, it's not going to fix anything. It's not going to increase the median household income in the next 10 years by 10% or 20%.
So they're talking about reparations, and she's getting frustrated because he's saying you can give Black people reparations and it's not going to change anything. I don't know why she's getting frustrated, because let's be for real. We have had several forms of what would be considered reparations. You don't have to call it reparations. I was out and about in these streets during the scamdemic. Okay. And when I say scamdemic, I'm not even just talking about the higher ups. I'm talking about the fact that I know several, too many to count, Black people who got PPP loans, off of fake businesses. And did they take that money and reinvest it back into their community? No. Do you know what they were buying? I know a lady who got 3 PPP loans, and she was blowing the money. Black woman, always on that social justice stuff. She bought a Bentley Bentayga. She was on Sprinter vans every other weekend. She had a ball where she did so much crazy stuff with that money, right? I know some of y'all know I was working in the club at that time. So many men who got the PPP loan, they saw that as their opportunity to come blow a bag at the club. They were just spending money, throwing the money up in the air. Y'all see them getting caught on TV, buying jewelry, buying Lamborghinis, buying cars. One of the singers from Pretty Ricky went to jail. So it's kind of, I've said this before and I'll say this again. If you just give reparations, because honestly and truly, I don't think that we are owed reparations, because I didn't do any slave labor. And I'm going to go into that because she's going to make another argument that I'm going to counter here. But I personally don't think Black people now, today, in 2025, are owed reparations. Now, I do believe that the slave owners should have paid their slaves reparations after the Civil War. I absolutely do believe that they should have paid their slaves some type of severance. But unfortunately, that did not happen. And people today of all type of ancestry who have come to the United States, a lot of white people came to the United States after slavery. And even before slavery, the vast majority of white people never even owned a slave. There were a lot of white people who were against slavery for various economic reasons. Should they be forced to pay a debt that they don't owe? Let's continue.
For example, we have the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. We prevented Chinese people from getting citizenship and even entering the country. We discriminate against them and basically put them under apartheid, even here in the United States. Yet they have the highest median household income. How is that possible? How come they don't complain and feel entitled consistently to beg for reparations and beg for this when they are killing each other 90% of the time, which is the rate that Black people kill each other, according to the FBI?
Oh, young Matt.
Yet white people are the oppressors.
I'm not sure where your education
Okay. Hold on.
came
Let me let her finish.
from, but they lied to you.
Stats don't lie, though.
Yeah.
Statistics lie all the time.
So she doesn't understand why people don't like her. That was very condescending. And again, this is something she thinks she's having original thoughts, but this is something that the vast majority of liberals do. Whenever they cannot refute your argument, they resort to the ad hominem attacks about you being uneducated or where did you go to school? Like it's always this classist argument. And they don't understand that that's a turnoff for the vast majority of people. And just because you call somebody uneducated doesn't mean that you refuted what they said. As a matter of fact, if they are so beneath you and their education makes you far more inferior to you, then you should be able to take the focus off of where they got their education and direct your argument towards refuting their argument and be able to make your point. But when they can't do that, they automatically try to disqualify you before they even attempt to make a point. And I don't like that, right? So what I like about this show, Jubilee, is that they fact check on the side everything that's talked about. So they're gonna continually fact check her throughout this whole entire life. And I like that he brought up the point that there have been other groups that have been discriminated against, but they continue to keep going. And that's true. I love that he brought up Asian people. Let me tell you, if you talk to like Asians from Asia, like if you ever had a Vietnamese friend, or my brother's grandma was from Vietnam. I've had several Asian friends. They don't believe in all of that depression. I'm not saying it's healthy, but they don't believe in things like depression and making excuses for as to why you don't get things done. In their culture, if you go to school and behave the way we allow our children to go to school and behave, their parents will literally first of all, they'll get jacked up at the house. Let's be clear. Their parents will disown them. They don't play those type of games. And nor will you ever see them in the public marching or defending any of that. You never see Asian people in mass marching outside to defend bad behavior. So she's going to try to dismiss what he's saying, but a lot of the reason why, despite a lot of the things that Asian Americans have been through, not just in our country, but in their own countries as well, they are more resilient and more successful. And it has a lot to do with cultural norms and values. And she does not want to concede that point, but it is what it is.
So let's start there, particularly when the statistics are coming from the sources that gain from the statistics being shown a different way. So if you're going to start your argument on stats don't lie, you've already lost the argument. They lie all the time. One, compare.
Men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. It's interesting because she's a Black woman saying stats lie, but if she were to bring up the stat that Black women are the most educated, she wouldn't say that was not.
Because people like to say stats are a lie depending upon whether or not the stats are convenient to their argument. And in my opinion, it really matters not. And I've heard this argument that she's making, oh, the stats are lying. I've heard this since I was a child. Oh, they're lying about the crime rates. Oh, they're lying and saying Black people make up only 13% of the population. There's way more of us here, but they lied to kind of keep us mentally bound. And what I don't think they understand is that nobody has to do that. Nobody has to lie to us about how many Black people that there are. Nobody has to lie about crime stats. It's like, I don't understand how, if you are a Black person who has lived in a Black neighborhood right? Especially an impoverished Black neighborhood. But even now, the suburban neighborhoods are terrible. I taught in one. Their children are terrible. Is it all of them? Absolutely not. But it's enough to where it is a problem. Then you would know those stats sound just about right. There were, when I was teaching in a Black suburb, mind you, this was not the ghetto. Okay, this is a Black suburb. But I will say a lot of those kids' parents were a generation out of poverty. Um, I I can count on my 10 fingers the number of kids who I was like, this kid can read, they can comprehend what they're gonna read, they behave all the time. They never give me any problems. They're respectful. The amount of those children who would just casually engage in crime, taking photos, this is suburbs, taking photos with pew pews in the picture, threatening to unalive other children. And at this point, it ain't even just the boys, it's the boys and the girls. Like, that's normal. This was regular conversation that I was hearing on a daily basis as a teacher. It was to the point where, as a teacher, they say take all threats seriously. When this is what you hear coming from hundreds of students all the time, you can't even report it because this is just regular talk. This is how they behave. And you have people like Amanda Seals who wants to pretend like she can't go to any hood and even the suburbs now, and they're running amok. And the parents are allowing it.
Saying that was debunking your argument, but I just noticed a lot of times when you get these Black radicals and pro-Black people and they talk about the negative statistics about Black people, they always say it's a lie. But
always,
I think that we all know as Black people that
we know
we're more likely to have a crime committed against us by another Black person. I believe we should know that. I mean, they could probably be likely to fight you and beat you up and assault you and steal from you. And
I had a white person try to fight me one time, and she was a child in the mental institution that I was working at. That's it. But like, out in the free, I've never had a white person ever try to physically assault me or anything of that nature. No, I've never had a white person. I've never been afraid of white people. I'll say that. There have been several times where I have just been minding my own business and somebody that is supposed to be of my same race wants to fight me just because of my skin color or just because they don't like the way that I talk or they don't like who I'm hanging out with or you didn't like what I put on when I walked out the house today. So, when you live in certain environments that you always have to constantly be on edge because there's always somebody that is looking to pick a fight. It's just the reality. And you don't know until you move out of those environments that everybody is not living like that. Everybody is not walking around on edge because they're expecting for something to pop off.
Possibly kill you.
I'm just trying to figure out how white people can benefit off that stat.
Because they're gonna pay, they can benefit off of it by painting Black people the bad guy in her book and pinning you down and oppressing you with fake statistics.
But how would that help you?
White supremacists.
No. But like from their perspective, from her perspective, how would inflating a stat help a white person in any way?
It helps them by dehumanizing us.
But how did it help them get money or get anything? You didn't get it. It doesn't help at all. I really don't see that.
I guess that's
why are they
racism? It's racism.
No, but okay.
The argument is that this is what most of them say. The argument is if they can make Black people feel inferior, then it causes us to behave in ways that are destructive, thus keeping the prison system full. That's the whole theory there. But I'm sorry, we don't really have a culture that promotes not staying in prison. Like, we have to take responsibility for our cultural values. And they're going to bring it up later on in this live, but for example, in the Black community, you could have went to prison for unaliving somebody, selling illicit substances to children, laying hands on the mother of your child, anything like that. And we will openly accept you back. But if you are a Black conservative, that is the worst. That is the absolute worst thing. You will be excommunicated. If you are a Black conservative who is a law-abiding citizen, who is respectful, who is going to work, paying your dues to society, going outside and carrying yourself with class, dignity, and respect, they will outcast you just for being a conservative before they outcast the people who are publicly embarrassing us. And that is not to be blamed on white people. That has everything to do with what we choose to value as a culture. And yes, it is a representation of us as a whole, unfortunately, because when that behavior is acceptable and even applauded more than good behavior is, the rest of the world looks at all of us, even if we don't feel that way, and goes, okay, well, that's what's acceptable to y'all. Right. And then you have people like Amanda Seales, who are the loudest in the room, and people think that she speaks for us all.
Okay, so racism used to be, right, real racism was, okay, let's hold them, redlining, things like that will actually affect your life. But lying about a stat, how would that help you,
if you
in any way? It wouldn't.
You could turn on the television and see that these stats are correct.
Bro, you can go outside and see that they're correct.
So, I mean,
sources that gain from the statistics being shown a different way. So if you're going to start your argument on stats don't lie, you've already lost the argument. They lie all the time. One, comparing Chinese people who are immigrants that made a choice to come to the United States and comparing the continued effort of Black people to ground themselves in a nation that continues to make impediments for them to show and live and exist in their true citizenship is a false equivalency.
I don't believe that happens at all. What no one here is in.
Are you acting right now? Do you really believe that?
And there lies the problem. People like Amanda Seales have convinced themselves that even though, like, through all recorded history, there have been terrible things that have happened to many racial groups, we have convinced ourselves that we have won the struggle Olympics and that we experienced the worst kind of human degradation that there ever was. And because of that, we can make excuses as to why we can't seem to get it together when other races of people can, right? What she doesn't understand is, like, okay, yes, the vast majority of Asian people who came here did not arrive as slaves, right? But you have to understand what was going on in their country previously. They didn't just come here because everything was all good and dandy in China. They were experiencing plagues, famines, death, war. They were going through it too, right? But in spite of all that, they came over here and made a life for themselves. What she doesn't understand is during that second industrial revolution, a lot of Asians were imported over here as slaves in the sex trade. It was a lot of girls chained up in madams' houses or in warehouses because a lot of men were coming from the East Coast out to the West without wives. So you had a lot of Asian women who were sex slaves in some of the worst ways, to where they were chained up and just getting raped. You got men coming in, they're not making any money. The only person that's making money is the people that own these warehouses, and they're just getting raped, disease ridden, all of that. But we like to act like we don't care to listen to anybody else. When people try to tell us, hey, my people went through XYZ too. It's like a form of narcissism where we don't care to listen to what anybody has to say, but we expect people to empathize with our pain. And that's just not how life works. If you are unwilling to listen to anybody else, and if you feel like you can dismiss their pain or what their ancestors went through, then you can't possibly expect for them to care about anything you have to say.
The truth, there's no systemic racism that I've experienced here in America. What system is racist? I think the only racism we've actually seen recently, systemic racism that we've seen, is the application of systemic racism against white people. The University of West.
Hey Jamal, what's up? Annoying as she is, I love her, and she is I don't find her to be an intelligent person. I find her to be very obnoxious. What's wrong with Amanda Seales? Honestly and truly, if I say this, it's going to sound mean, but Amanda Seales' real problem is that I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say what it really is. Let me say this. Most women need, I'm not going to say that because that's too raw for y'all. That's too real. I know what her real problem is. Okay. We are certainly top 5 in scriptures also suggest that. Okay. I wouldn't say we're top 5. And I wouldn't say that the scriptures suggest that. You know, I know y'all like to say we the Hebrew Israelites. I don't believe that. I don't agree to that. I don't subscribe to that. And again, why are we so obsessed and in competition with everybody else as to who had it worse in the world? Do y'all know that the Aztecs were sacrificing their own people at the altar and literally cutting out their hearts? Like, there's so many atrocities that have happened all throughout human history. Why do we have to be in the business of saying we went through the worst stuff? And what badge of honor does that get us? That's why we're in the position that we're in now. And we continue to want to run the race in the struggle Olympics. I work, play hard, sheesh. You fine with big sense. Big W. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you.
In Washington, for example, has been trying to segregate dormitories, using Black-only dormitories because Black people feel safer amongst each other. But they're more likely to kill each other than white people are ever to kill them. That's just the truth. You have King Von rapping about killing other Black men.
I'm going to be completely honest. Now, let me be clear. All of my best, not all of them, most of my best girlfriends are Black. I have a Black family, and we all, for the most part, get along. But that is because we don't hang around other ghetto Black people. So there are a lot of people in my family who are just simply not invited. You're not invited to the cookout. You're not invited to the birthday party. You're not invited to the wedding. You're not invited because you don't know how to act, and all you want to do is fight, argue, escalate the situation, fight your own family members, threaten your own family members. So we have weeded out all the people who don't behave. Rather than choosing to be a family that never gets together because nobody gets along, we just decided, let's weed out all of the bad apples. Same with my girlfriends who are Black. They don't hang out with ghetto people. But guess what? Because they don't hang out with ghetto people, they have very, very few friends. Our circle is very small, and their cutoff game it is real quick. Okay. So I've never felt safest around just a whole lot of Black people. I'm just being honest. I remember I told you I used to work in the club. When I tried to work at the Black clubs, I was like, oh, baby, no, I'm going right back over here with the Mexicans because y'all do not know how to act. And I'm going to the Latina club. I'm going over here where I don't have to work. Y'all, one night I was working and I had my work outfit on, and I came back to change into some jeans, and like they stole my jeans. You stole you literally stole my jeans. They was, and again, I'm not characterizing all black people in this manner. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's bad enough to where you just don't want to be in an environment to where there is too many. You want to be able to vet the ones that you were around. I'm just being honest because our culture promotes degeneracy. And we can blame the music all day, but everybody listens to rap music. There is something, people try to make it seem like rap music is the reason why our culture has devolved into this. But I feel like there was something about our culture that was already present that makes us more susceptible to engaging in some of the highest levels of degeneracy.
And why should I think that the white man is the oppressor
Mm.
when black men are more likely to kill me?
Great.
Tell me.
God, this is scary.
That's a good
You
point.
need to think
Thanks.
about me as your mama. Do not talk to me in that fashion.
What?
So let's check that now.
What did he say? Was
Okay.
disrespectful.
So
I don't
on the
know.
So this is why people don't like her. Let me rewind that so y'all can see. He didn't say anything rude. He made a point, but because he made a valid point, she tried to check him for disrespect. Could have never been me sitting there.
Against white people. The University of Western Washington, for example, has been trying to segregate dormitories using black-only dormitories because black people feel safer amongst each other. But they're more likely to kill each other than white people are ever to kill them. That's just the truth. You have King Von rapping about killing other black men. Why should I think that the white man is the oppressor when black men are more likely to kill me?
Great.
Tell me.
God, this is scary.
That's a good
You
point.
need to think
Thanks.
about me as your mama. Do not talk to me in that fashion.
What?
So let's check that now.
What did he say? Was
Okay.
disrespectful.
So
This is where the angry black woman stereotype, women like this, this angry, college educated, snub attitude, think that I'm better than anybody, think that people have to tiptoe and walk on eggshells. He made a very valid point. He wasn't rude to her. He didn't yell at her. He didn't disrespect her. He didn't attack her character. He made a very valid point about why should I be scared of a white person when I am more likely to be unalived by somebody that looks like me, which is absolutely true. The statistics bear it out. But honestly and truly, do you really need statistics? Do you really need it? Do you really need it to know that that's true? I think not. Let's stop being intellectually dishonest. And she was like, you need to think about me as your mama. You're not his mother. Y'all are in a debate. He didn't call you out your name. He didn't use any ad hominem attacks. As far as I'm concerned, I showed y'all the hierarchy of disagreement last time I was on live. It was at a couple lives ago. He is arguing at the top of the hierarchy, which is refuting the point, or at the very least providing counter arguments. But because he too much pressure, she wants to make it seem like he's disrespecting her. When, ma'am, who are you? But this is the level of entitlement, elitist, and classist attitude that these liberals have, and they expect respect. So no, Amanda Seals, people don't dislike you because you're smarter than them. They dislike you because you are angry and snub and you're mean. And you think people are supposed to bow down to you. That's the problem. It's your attitude. It's you're not a likable person.
on a basic level, we have to understand that systemic racism is grounded in the realities that Black people have not been considered an equal human being in this country since its onset. So
They
there's
are right
simply
now.
no way to make the argument that there isn't systemic racism. And we have seen in very clear ways the system operate in an organically racist way. Do not cut me off. When we talk about systemic racism, we can start with even the fact that redlining, which was implemented to...
I see the way she's talking, not even please do not cut me off. She being very disrespectful while demanding respect. entitlement mentality. So there's no winning an argument with a person like this because they're simply entitled. And if this wasn't her issue, something else would be her issue. A person like this, if she wasn't a black woman with a reason to be upset because of slavery, she was another race, she would find something else to be upset about.
Discriminate Black communities. Are you shaking your head that redlining doesn't exist?
So this is a fact check. Redlining is the practice of denying mortgages to those who lived in neighborhoods considered risky. Lenders targeted Black and immigrant communities in urban areas. The practice was outlawed in 1968. Let me tell you something. And here's the thing. Redlining did exist, but and again, I will say this, it is a racist practice, but honestly and truly, it's not without cause. And I'm seeing this kind of happen. I think when we learned about white flight, we were taught that, like, Black people moved in and white people immediately started moving out the neighborhoods. But now that I've actually been able to see it in real time, so for example, y'all know I'm from Dallas, Texas. A lot of the Black people started moving to the southern suburbs of Dallas. They used to be white, like DeSoto, Lancaster. So what happened is the white people moved further south to places like Waxahachie and Red Oak. However, what I have been able to witness now is that a lot of the Black people that are in the southern suburbs are like, and now that they're all Black, they're like, I want to get away from these people. They're ghetto. This is what they say. This is not my words. They say this. I want to take my kids out of the environment. These people are ghetto, and they don't realize you're leaving, but your children are engaging in the same type of behavior that you accuse your neighbors of doing, or calling them ghetto, and you're taking those same behaviors into these white areas. So as a result, school disciplining has gone up, crime in these areas have gone up. Of course, you have those tensions because there's just a blatant cultural difference. And slowly, the white people are moving further south. But it doesn't have much to do with racism as much as it has to do with y'all are going into their neighborhood and completely changing the social dynamic and fabric. Where their kids used to be able to sit in the classroom and learn, their kids can't sit in the classroom and learn anymore because your kids are constantly fighting in class. Your kids are constantly cussing out the teacher. And it's not to say that white children don't behave this way at times, but when we look at the frequency of it, it's off the chain. It's off the chain, right? So I'm pretty sure 20 years from now, if somebody tries to, some critical race theorist tries to retell the story, they will say all of the investment got taken out of that community now because white people, hated that Black people moved in and they moved out. And there's going to be absolutely no accountability for a lot of the behaviors that make them say, well, we don't want to live in close proximity to y'all. And honestly and truly, when people move out, they take their money with them. Their money doesn't have to stay in that community, right? And that's how you have investment go out of the community. If people felt like they could invest in Black communities and people and the stores weren't going to get robbed, they didn't have to worry about people feeling unsafe. Why would people not invest in a community that is wholesome, that makes them money, where they can be assured that their business is going to thrive? That's not how it works. But we expect people to invest in our communities and take all the BS that comes with it, even if it's at a personal and financial loss to them. And that's just not how life works. That's just not how people do business. No, nowhere on this earth do people do business like that.
No, I'm thinking. I don't think it really existed at all. I mean, no, I don't think so at all.
So it does exist.
Not
And
anymore.
stating that it doesn't exist doesn't make it no longer exist. Redlining absolutely exists. It is not something that's being made up. It's an empirical fact. And there are realities that exist because of redlining. We know that school systems are related to the way that property taxes are affecting the school systems. If a school system is not getting the same property value as the property taxes allow it, then it's not going to have the same efficacy at.
Oh boy, I remember
I mean, that is true. But also, if you move into a neighborhood and people with money move out because you don't know how to act, that is going to bring the value of the property down. And can you blame them? People don't have to stay where they don't want to be. Point blank, period. And there's nothing we can do about it. So this goes back to people like Amanda Seals trying to force people to do what they don't want to do. When honestly and truly, if we were the best, I've never heard somebody say, I've never, if you go to like Plano, Frisco, where there are other minority groups, there are a lot of like Asians over there. I've never ever heard anybody say, in modern days, when it comes to Asians who were like making money and going to college, I've never heard anybody move out the neighborhood because an Asian moved into their community. Absolutely not. Because 9 times out of 10, they're going to be quiet. They're going to go to work. They're going to come home. They're going to come study. You're not going to have no problems.
Today we debunked this. They said, the schools are not properly funded. When we looked up, I have it in my brain still. Y'all can go look it up. I remember, I think it was the Woodlands, Texas, and what other school we looked up? Like a hood school in Houston.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Spring.
And if you look up, in every situation, the hood schools the quote unquote black schools are funded better than the white schools. In Edmond, Oklahoma, I remember we looked it up, my hometown. I think Edmond is, it's a good town, good schools. I think it was $4,000 to $5,000 per student they were spending, versus in OKC, where the schools are bad, it was almost double, $8,000 per student. You can look this up, guys. These are stats, these are numbers.
You can look at.
Well, I can provide a little insight as to why some of these schools are not thriving, even though they're being funded the most and given the most federal funding, right? Because they are in lower income areas or in at-risk schools. Thievery. It's really just that simple. It's kind of like how y'all know how our government sends a lot of foreign aid to Africa, and the vast majority of it never trickles down to the people that it's supposed to help. They just blatantly steal money, and the people know that. Well, this goes on at a very high level in many school districts. For example, I told y'all about a Black school district that I worked into, and this was on the news. The superintendent stole COVID funds and bought a mansion and was able to leave that school. And this was in the news. It's crazy. Was able to leave that school district and go be a superintendent at another school district right across the freeway in another Black community. They pushed a superintendent out who was money laundering as well and stealing money. And he kind of like, he was able to get out and go work for another school district before things got too hot for him, right? Again, these are Black superintendents in Black school districts who, in that school district across the freeway I'm talking about. One of the reasons why I'm very grateful that I took my daughter out of that district is because we were in Colombia and she was like, white people hate me. And I was like, who told you that? Mind you, my daughter has never really spent an extensive amount of time around white people. We've always lived around Black and Hispanic people. And even her school that she went to, it was predominantly Black, and they had Hispanics as a minority, but I don't even think there were any white children in her school. She didn't have a white teacher, but my daughter was growing up to fear a group of people that she never extensively interact with. And it's like, hold on, my daughter is falling behind in reading at y'all school, but and she can't tell me things, or she can't read words she's supposed to read, but she can tell me everything about slavery. Something is wrong. Y'all are focusing on the wrong things. And so it's like very young, these kids are developing an inferiority complex, or they're learning to either hate white people, or they're learning that white people hate them. And it affects how they go about in this world, So it was really like, it bothered me a lot. I'll say that. But yeah, a lot of the money that is allocated towards these schools is being misappropriated. So again, the school that I'm talking about, where the superintendent stole the funds. The following year, the school districts started like downsizing on essential programs for the kids. Meanwhile, the next superintendent's friends are still on payrolls, making a fat check. This is not in a poor neighborhood. Most of the parents were homeowners. So this goes back to people can give you something. They can fund your schools. They can give you reparations. But if you don't do the internal work, if the culture as itself is not willing to be accountable, then at the end of the day, people can throw as much money at the problem as they want to. We are not going to be good stewards of what is given to us. Because like Pastor Manning said on that last slide that I did, this is a God problem. This is not a you and everybody else besides you. Like, this is about doing the internal work. And if you're not willing to do that, then there's no point in having this conversation about fairness, justice, and race. Because at the end of the day, you can only control you.
Up in your city.
Look
This is in every city.
Because they got to pay for the metal detectors to make sure them niggas ain't bringing guns through. Fact. Sorry if your feelings are hurt. But, facts don't.
¿Ves este clavo? ¿Puedes imaginar el hecho de intentar clavarlo en un trozo de madera con tu mano sin herramientas?
Don't care about feelings.
We will hear that argument and say, well, Black kids are not we are not doing the mass school unalivings. And for the most part, this is true. But like, you would be surprised how many, again, I used to work for a school district. You would be surprised how many Black kids are bringing guns on school campuses on a day-to-day and getting them past security, threatening to unalive kids. I mean, we went down the last school year that I was teaching, we went on lockdown so many times because kids either threatening to bring guns in school and actually getting the guns on campus and getting caught with the guns. Like, it's too much. So, I mean, the only reason why you don't necessarily see more of that is because we have security trying to do their due diligence. But like, let's not make it seem like if certain things were allowed, especially in this day and age when these kids have no value for life, if certain things were allowed to happen and if security wasn't as tight as it is on most of these school campuses now, you better believe that like you don't have to have one mass unaliving. You would just be adding those bodies up. They would all add up.
School system is not getting the same property value as the property taxes allow it, then it's not going to have the same efficacy at allowing for students to be able to get what they deserve. When we talk about systemic racism, we have to acknowledge that these private prisons are literally built based on the test scores of school students in third grade. So if you are literally building prisons with the onset of, okay, if these people are not reaching a certain reading.
Okay, so fact check. While there is a direct correlation between literacy and education levels and incarceration rates, the claim that prison planners use that data to decide where to build has been debunked. Okay, so this fact check is saying that's not true. Let's say it was true, though. Whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? If you have people who are planning prisons who are looking at these test rates and saying, yep, well, more than likely they'll be coming through our doors. Is it the prison planners system that they were making room and a space for your child? Or is it your fault that when you saw your child couldn't read or was falling by the wayside, you took absolutely no action? And I'm saying this as a person who literally changed my whole life. And a big reason was because my daughter was falling behind in school and it bothered me so much. I literally was like, my daughter's falling behind in school. I'm spending all my time at high school teaching other people's kids. I'm exhausted when I get home. I'm exhausted by the economy. I got my daughter in a tutoring program. It wasn't enough. So I said, hey, let me just leave the country and work half of the time that I do, and I will homeschool her, and I will be able to help catch her up, and I will be able to give her targeted instruction. And I'm not saying everybody is going to be able to do that, but I'm saying if I'm already knowing this, then you have some tough decisions to make. But I wasn't going to let my daughter continue to fall behind and then try to blame anybody else in the system for as to why it stayed that way. I had to take action, drastic action.
Level, then we know that they're going to go down a prison industrial pipeline, or we can use their free labor. Then how is that not systemic? And if you want to
stop them from entering prisons.
How are you going to stop people from entering prisons if your goal is to get them into prison?
Sure, make them try to be more like Ben Carson than be like King Von. That's very, very simple.
Ooh. So
we in our community, we act like Ben Carson is a complete degenerate when King Von was literally a serial unaliver. Right? But we will talk about Ben Carson like a dog. And his solution that he gave her is the only solution. If you know that a trap is set for your child, then you need to do everything that you can to try to keep them from falling into that trap. I remember my daughter was on a dance team, and people will make fun of my daughter because she doesn't have as much rhythm as like the other girls on the team. But what people don't understand is their parents were letting them sit up on TikTok and watch TikTok all day, watch twerk videos. So these girls are like super young, don't know how to shake their butt. My daughter my daughter 9, she don't know how to shake her butt. But mind you, she got on this team when she was like, I want to say 5 or 6. And the girls they was already knowing how to sway their hips, shake their butt, do all the TikTok dances. Right. And, luckily the coach let them keep it appropriate, but they would have these dance offs where you can clearly tell, okay, a lot of y'all energy and time at home is going into learning how to gyrate.
How does King Von happen?
So I like this. She calling black people dumb.
I like it.
Yeah, essentially. Because she's saying the third graders are gonna make lower grades because they're black.
Yeah,
that's what she's saying.
It's interesting that she's like using this argument that black people are dumb to try to prove that the system is racist, and he's saying we should teach the young black kids to strive to be like Ben Carson, who is a black doctor, surgeon, all these things, instead of a street rapper
who was a serial killer.
Yeah, I mean, like
literal.
And she seems to think that's some ridiculous thing to say.
Like what?
When in school.
And that's what I'm saying. It's insulting. They think white people are racist. They are racist. They are the ones who think that just because of the color of our skin and the circumstances that our ancestors went through, that we cannot succeed and thrive without somebody constantly giving us something, without getting some type of reparations or a PPP loan or getting the bar lowered. That's another thing. They want the standards to constantly be lowered. I remember when they were claiming that tests are racist. So it's like there has to be this constant lowering of the bar, and it's never enough, because unfortunately, when you lower standards, boundaries, and expectations, it doesn't encourage people to strive higher. As a matter of fact, they work less efficiently. They care less about whether or not they succeed, because they know that the reward is guaranteed. So what incentive would you have to work hard? You don't have any real skin in the game. There's nothing on the line. You know that people are going to make an exception for you because, they're going to go for your sob story. So what is the point in even putting forth maximum effort? And then what happens, I saw this when I worked in high school. The bar is in hell, and this is just across the board. Really doesn't have anything to do with race. So for example, if you have a student now who is going to public school and they are an A student, if you go back to when I was in school, if you go back to, the 2000s, if you go back to 15, 20 years ago, your child who was an A student would be a C student at best. So what does that say about a C student today? That's how bad it is. And this is across all racial categories. But school administration pressures the teachers to pass kids. I had students who I was pressured to pass and they never even turned an assignment. Like I literally never got an assignment for them the entire year. And what that does for the people who are high achievers and the people who have potential, they start looking at this. A lot of my Black students who were actually smart and had the potential to go very far, they were like, why should I put forth all this effort when this person is able to make the same grades as me because they come sweet talk the teacher and they play football? What is the point? So it drags everybody down.
When these people that decide to be in the streets, their schools that they attend have all the resources that
Every
any
resource
school
you could
has.
ever want.
It's the culture that's the problem, and that goes back
1,000,000%.
to are
The
these,
home.
Are these niggas dumb?
How
Yeah.
are you going to stop people from entering
From
prisons if your
educating them.
goal if your goal is to get them into prison?
Sure, make them try to be more like Ben Carson than be like King Von. That's very, very simple.
So
Ben
how does King Von happen? How does King Von happen?
By
King
choice.
Von-
Reparations.
hold on,
Actually,
let
no,
me
let me
finish.
land the plane. We're talking about reparations, and what you're doing is actually just trying to get this conversation off the facts. And
Ben
the fact
Carson's-
is, reparations are just and necessary because on a basic level, Black people built this country, and the country continues to thrive off of the labor that Black people put into this country.
Guess who else benefits from the labor that Black people put into this country, put into building America? Black people. This is what she doesn't get. And this is why I say people like this, they need to go live in another country that is managed by other people. Go live in a lot of these African countries, boo. Or not even African country. Go live in a country that is not as well off economically. Being an American citizen alone is a benefit. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. While Black slave labor did build up the South, and there was a point in time where the taxes that the South was paying did heavily fund the federal government as a whole. We are not the only ones who built up this country. If you go over to the East Coast, you had a lot of Asians that worked on the railroad, and that contributed. The railroads contributed heavily to industrializing the United States. You had a lot of Chinese working on those railroads. You had a lot of Irishmen working on those railroads, as well as Black men. And there are several instances where all throughout history, multiple groups of people have pushed us forward economically, and we are all benefiting from it. And if you think you don't benefit from it, go see how a Black person is living in another country. So there is a certain level of privilege that comes from being an American that was born into a system of slavery. And if you don't believe it, go live somewhere else. People are like, because I live abroad now, I ain't in the United States. People are like, well, would you ever give up your US citizenship? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There are certain jobs that you can get abroad working online that will not hire you unless you are an American. So all the opportunities that I have now have come from me being an American. So I very much have benefited from the labor of my ancestors and the presence of my ancestors in the United States, as well as the labor of others. Because of them, the US dollar is very strong. We have a very strong currency, and it allows me to make my dollars go further abroad. So we all have benefited from it. And for Black people to try to exclude themselves and act like they don't benefit from it just because, you know, socioeconomically we're, you know, at the bottom, like we're not necessarily at the bottom, but we pretty low. We're not at the very bottom, but we're pretty low. For them to try to act like there's absolutely no benefits for us is crazy. Like I said, you can go to many Black communities where the federal government is not giving their schools extra funds just because they're poor and Black. That's not a normal thing. The federal government is not investing money into communities just because they're being shamed into doing it because it's a poor Black community. And most of these things are not happening. And we were not the only country with slavery. There are plenty of other countries that you can go to in the Western Hemisphere that had Black slaves and colonialism, and they don't feel any obligation to do anything for Black people.
And it would behoove you, young man, to really understand the way that your ancestors put blood, sweat, and tears into this nation that is still living off of those blood, sweat, and tears. And let me also add, there are reparations and then there is remuneration.
I'm so sorry. But wouldn't it be, say that you are right? Wouldn't the ancestors want you to thrive off of what they built instead of continue to cry and whine and complain about the country that you're in? They went through all these things. Black people back in the day really went to fight to get people into schools, fight for equal rights, just for y'all to still complain about it.
I'm gonna say this: after slavery, my ancestors were not poor Black people. Like, my ancestors were slaves, but they worked hard and they bought their own land. It was my great grandmother, who I had the pleasure of meeting before she passed away. It was her generation that squandered all of the money and the hard work. But it wasn't a situation where after slavery, we were poor Blacks and my ancestors decided that they were going to let being Black hold them up. No, they had a lot of land. They just sold the last of that land. I want to say after my great grandmother died, they had a lot of land in East Texas. They had money. My family on my mother's side were Black professionals. That's why when you go around my family, we do not act, I promise y'all, we do not act ghetto. Now, you have certain people in the family that are kind of like bad apples or they went waywardly, but no, I wouldn't say that I have like a ghetto hood ratchet family. Absolutely not.
Use your equal rights. Go to school. Get a job. Take care of your kids.
Slavery happened everywhere.
And guess
who
what?
ended slavery here?
White people. Oh, who brought the slaves here? Black people. Other Black people sold Black people here. And we complain about, like, do you think that white people went over there with nets and caught them niggas? No, I'm sorry for saying the N-word, but no, that's not what happened. Other tribes captured other tribes and sold them. Oh, the white man.
Okay, so you're saying, well, duh, Mariah, that's what Jim Crow was for and why the police reformed to slow down the progress. I'm saying that in spite of Jim Crow, my family was able to amass a good amount of money and land. And it wasn't Jim Crow or segregation that was the reason why my family lost their wealth and fortune. It was a situation where y'all heard that saying, hard times create strong men, and strong men create good times, and good times create weak men. That was the situation as to why our family lost their money. It had absolutely nothing to do with white people, Jim Crow, and oppression. And I'm saying that as somebody who came from people who grew up in Texas during Jim Crow. Most like after slavery did have land. Yeah, but the reason why our family lost its wealth had absolutely nothing to do with white supremacy, oppression, or anything like that. It was folks not doing right and not appreciating what they had and not listening to the advice of the elders in the family.
Well, so black people are completely innocent there. Let's be real, y'all. Let's stop caring about feelings and let's look at what really, really happens.
I love that they use the example that black people built this nation. Black people built and fought and died for the opportunities we have today. For a lot of black people to try to use what our ancestors went through when they were fighting and building the opportunities that we have as a crutch for why they're not successful, as an excuse for why they can't get ahead and why they can't achieve and get a job and do all these things. It's ridiculous to me. Like, they use these arguments to advocate for why they need handouts and things, but then also use the same argument to turn around and using as excuse for their lack of success.
Also add, there are reparations and then there is remunerations. Do you know the difference?
Yes, but can I finish one point that I wanted to say? Ben Carson's cousins were killed at a very young.
I'm so sorry. You've been. How are you? I'm Jasmine, the pretty
Ladies.
Say less outfit. Okay.
Thank you.
So this is my thing. I think the premise of your question was black on black crime. So I think I'm coming from a place, and I guess my issue is having had my biological father murdered by a black man, having had my cousin shot in the head by a black man. We can talk numbers and statistics and what the people are doing, what the white man is doing and all that. But at the end of the day, I see when my family lives on the south side of Chicago, and I think you and I both can attest to this, and I'm not saying that there are not other factors, but we know that we kill each other at a disproportionate rate than any other race.
Yes.
Now, why we do that and why 6,000 to 9,000.
I pulled the stats up on that last time that we were on live about the violent crime rates. Because the argument for so long has been, the reason why black people kill black people is because you're more likely to unalive people that you live around. But when you look at the proportionality for white on white crime versus black on black crime, it's not even close. It's not even close. So if this is simply about proximity, then why don't the stats bear that out?
Black men are going to be homicided or killed or whatever by the end of the year annually by other black men, whereas the likelihood of a black man being killed by a white police officer is less than 150 per year. We know that we kill each other at a higher rate. So I'm not debating that there are not factors at play, but because I've lived the experience as a black woman losing.
I'm sorry, but this.
Hold on, Jamal, you said you'll have to ask my family about that. When you're talking about how we lost our wealth, they all gonna tell you the same story. They're gonna tell my family. That's one thing. My family has never blamed white people for why they lost their money. That has never even been a topic of discussion. We know. And it's not to say that, my family is poor now. My family, majority of the people in my family still do pretty well for themselves. They just don't have as much as they could have. I say that.
Over here is crazy. Only 238 black men have been killed by police since 2017.
That's per year. But that some would say, well, that's too many, and it is sad. But to keep it real, these are the people that are murdering. So if you murder and you get murdered, you live by the sword, you die by the sword.
But how many black men kill black men a year? I bet it's all way over.
It's 90%. The black on black crime rate is 90%.
That's what I'm saying.
It also, I would also
like we've been taught to focus on police brutality, and the argument has been because when police commit violence, they do it with impunity, and that there's nothing that you can do about it because they're the police, and that's why we should focus on that more than the fact that you're way more likely to get unalived just walking down the street by another black person than you are by the police. And I just think it's a boogeyman of the creation of these race baiters. Because honestly and truly, now I had seen a situation, one situation that genuinely broke my heart is when y'all remember Philando Castile, when he was in his car and he was like, he told the police, he got stopped and he told the police, I have a firearm. He told the police, like he announced it. He didn't threaten him. He was just like, I'm trying to let you know, I have a firearm. I have a license to carry. And it was an Asian cop, and the Asian cop like panicked and like unalived him. And like, that was one case where I was like, this was tragic, but that is not the majority of cases. And a lot of the times, the people that get caught up in with police in these police brutality situations, if you go back and see how they were interacting with the police before, you're like, bro, you really escalated the situation. There is a certain situation that I'm not even going to talk about it, but it's like a lot of times by the time we see a video, they cut off all the interaction where you were like, bro, the police gave you opportunity after opportunity, or he wasn't even coming at you wrong. Or dang, there was one situation where I saw where the person is no longer alive, but when I saw the full video, it was like this man was actually going to let you go with the ticket, but you continue to get disrespectful and disrespectful and disrespectful, and now you end up in police custody, and then next thing you know, you're unalive. And I'm not saying it's right, but a lot of this just be people getting in their ego. And even then, let's say all of these cops were unaliving Black people just because they felt like doing it that day, it still wouldn't amount to the amount of danger that you would be in just walking around your own community around people who are not police. And it's like, then we use these type of situations to say defund the police. And I'm like, bro, go live in places where they don't have police protection and see if you gonna last. 9 times out of 10, you wouldn't. Those are not places you actually want to be in.
So, like to point out, it does say that this is 60% higher than the 150 per year, which is alarming to some, I would say. I think it is concerning when you look at it. But every time we see a police body cam footage, we always see Black people misbehaving, screaming, escalating.
You're right. They are two completely different situations, Jamal. He says, I think Black on Black violence and police violence are two completely different situations. I think they are two completely different situations. And I think the Black on Black crime is the more pertinent situation. And I think it's a shame that we choose to focus on the police violence. And no, we can't do both at the same time, obviously, because if we could, we would. I think that Black on Black crime needs to make us, I think that needs to enrage us far more than police brutality, just from the simple fact that that is where you have the highest level of body count. So yeah, they can be two completely different things. My thing is we choose to focus on the lesser of the two problems every single time. So the most egregious issue never gets solved. I agree with what you're saying overall, but there were massacres in the states surrounding Texas, and some of us lost some of our land to white people. My granddad was scalped by a white man in 98, 20 feet from his land in 1998. I grew up near you in Texas, but in the suburbs with mostly white people. The thing with my granddad happened in another state. Wow, that's crazy. I'm sorry to hear that. It was his friend, not a random white person. Crazy and sad. Do you think he did it because do you think he did it because your granddad was Black, or was it for some other like reason? Hold on, let me go back to what you said. Did he do it because he was trying to get the land from your dad? What happened? I need more detail. Your granddad, I'm sorry. That is sad. Yes, 1998. Yeah, my family isn't ghetto either. We are well off. Yeah. But you have people like Amanda Sewell's trying to make it seem like we are just all ghetto. And then when somebody says, hey, how about if you want to keep our kids out of prison, we make education the focus. She tries to make it seem like that is such an outrageous idea because, we're Black. And it's like, what are you saying? To me, that type of attitude is far more racist than a person that is saying, hey, we need to hold y'all to the same standards that we hold everybody else to.
In the situation, not helping themselves and doing themselves any favors. So this statistic could possibly be a direct result of that. Now, I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying.
Or yes, could it be a result of 6% of the population committing 56% of the murders? Would it be applicable to understand that those people who are murdering could get murdered more.
And when you teach the youth and kids that the police are against you and are your enemy,
ACAB,
and all these things, like, you don't teach them how to properly have respect in these type of situations. I mean, this also could be another direct result of that.
Exactly. It's going to escalate. I remember watching a situation. This went viral a couple of years ago, where the police stopped this woman and her boyfriend. The boyfriend was driving. The girl got rowdy, was getting bugged, and the cop was black, actually. She was getting bugged. She was getting rowdy. It was really something that they could have went home with maybe a ticket. But it escalated. The police got tired of her and her mouth and her just being completely disrespectful. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. You are dealing with people in their egos. So they're not trying to hear all that you're talking about. When you start dealing with somebody in their ego, especially when they're trying to be patient to you, people are only going to let you push them so far. And I'm not saying that it's right, but this is not about right and wrong. This is about how the situation plays out in real life. So like all these people that want to give advice to y'all to be sitting up in the police face telling them, I know my rights and you can't do this and you can't do that. They're going to show you what they can and cannot do real quick if you come at them like that. Versus if you be like, okay, well, officer, what did I do? Okay, yeah. I understand. Well, or even if you say, well, you know what, I don't agree that I did that, but you know, I understand you have to do your job. Like if you talk to look, let me tell y'all something. Baby, when the police stop me, I make sure my lip gloss. This is why I try not to leave the house looking any kind of way. I really do. Baby, when the police will stop me, I honestly, y'all, my driving record should be terrible. I deserved so many tickets. It was so many times where the police really should have took my car. Y'all, it was so many times where my insurance ran out. It was so much stuff, y'all. But when the police would stop me, yes, sir. Oh, I am so sorry. I am so sorry that you had to stop what you were doing and come deal with this. I apologize. I sure do. And when all else fails, I cry. I cry. I cry. So in my entire life, I've only had 2 tickets when I really should have more. Okay. It's really a shame. That's why I moved out the country. Another reason why I moved out the country, because I don't like driving. Okay. But you will have people who will try to talk you up out of your position and get you to get bucked with the police when you don't need to do that. That's not your fight. If you are even just a pleasant person or a pleasant woman, you don't even got to be the best looking. All you got to do is be pleasant and keep yourself together. This whole struggle with the police, that's not your struggle. You don't never have to worry about the police giving you no problems. I agree, though. Some Black people are really dangerous as well, and some white people are good people, even though they're kind of racist, but not in a violent way. I think a lot of the things just be cultural misunderstandings. I think a lot of it, more so than anything, is prejudice. So, like, if I think was at my last slide where I explained the difference between racism, prejudice, and discrimination. Racism is a visceral hate. It is a feeling of hate toward another group. Prejudice, you don't have to hate somebody to be prejudiced. All that means is that you might have some misconceptions, or you might view somebody's culture through a stereotype. That doesn't mean that you assign good or bad to that group of people. It just means that you have a misconception. And discrimination is when you get to act upon your racism or prejudice. So in order for discrimination to take place, you actually have to be in a position to do something to somebody, right? So for example, I'm not going to hire this person because they are Black and I associate XYZ. Or discrimination could even be, I'm not going to date this person because they are this and I attribute XYZ to them, right? And so like when Black people be like, we can't be racist because we don't have power. No. What you're trying to say is you can't discriminate against somebody because you're not in a position to do so, right? But that doesn't mean that you can't hate another group of people. So yeah, if you don't have a job to give somebody, you can't discriminate against them for employment because you don't have a job to give nobody. that doesn't mean that you're not a racist. My mom's side of the family is pretty united. My dad is extremely polarized and divided by political, religious, economic, gang, and even fraternal lines. Wow. A cop stopped me in front of my big house in a parked car because he said he thought me and my black boyfriend are homeless. My biracial mother came outside when I dialed her as the cop walked to the window. I was really scared. He seemed like he targeted us just because we were brown, but he looked at my beige mom and the threat was subdued. You think it was just because of that? I remember one time I got stopped. Well, this is what happened. I'm not even gonna hold you. I was young, I was broke, I was driving without insurance, and I saw the cop car ahead of me. So I turned around and made a U-turn, and there shouldn't be any reason for you to stop me because I made a U-turn. But anyway, he followed me, he stopped me, he called some cops that were in training, and it's like once I seen all them cops pull up, I immediately started crying, and I was like, it's like I want to die. It was three of y'all in front of me. Like, and y'all got to understand, this is after the whole George Floyd thing. And like, they felt so bad and they like, let me. No, but like, I didn't talk. I wasn't yelling at them. I was like, oh God, please don't help me. I was complying, but I was like, y'all, but I was so for real. I forgot to mention it was a white neighborhood. And that happens too. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I'm not saying that the cops won't see you and be like, oh, this person doesn't belong here or they're out of place. A lot of places like in Dallas, if you're walking around, it really don't even have anything to do with race. If you're walking around Highland Park where all of those rich people live and you are looking homeless or you're looking like you don't even have enough money to be in that neighborhood, they will mess with you. Right. But a lot of that is because like Highland Park has its own police force. So this is what y'all are hired to do, and those rich people over there do not play. Okay, let me continue.
The question doesn't make sense. Black on black crime is a result of underinvestment and over policing. How would policing increase crime?
So what they're saying is the crime rate is a direct result of the neighborhoods having no money. So they're saying the crime rate is
I don't go to neighborhoods where the police don't go. I'm sorry, I don't.
direct result of poverty, and the crime,
I see that part.
The poverty crime would in turn have the neighborhoods be over policed.
But wouldn't policing stop crime?
I can understand like the arrest rate being due to those things, but black on black crime.
They made you go shoot them?
It's like so the police are the reason that
Then
black
you went
people
and
are
shot
committing
someone?
crimes against other
My
black
point.
people. The
police forced you to go kill someone.
All right, let's see the answer here.
We kill each other at a higher rate. So I'm not debating that there are not factors at play, but because I've lived the experience as a black woman, losing my father to be murdered by a black man, walking down the street.
To hear that, by the way.
No worries, thank you. But walking down the street in inner cities and different things, knowing that it's more likely that my own brother will rob and rape me than a white man or a white officer, we got to be ready.
What's your proximity to white men in the south side of Chicago? Are there even white men around to rob and rape you at the same rate that there are black men?
There are white men around
at the same.
But even if you go live in a white neighborhood, that is far less. If she goes as a black woman, if she goes and lives in a white neighborhood, she is far less likely to get raped and robbed than if she stays in her own community. So this whole argument about well, are there any white men around you? Ma'am, go look at the statistics in the white neighborhood, and that will tell you it has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that white men don't live in her neighborhood. Like, are you crazy? Hey, Socratic Mind 89. Needless, hold on. I'm sorry. I saw something else you said. Me and my friends, Mexican Americans, were once pulled over in the middle of Kansas over speeding. The cops smelled weed, and next thing you know, like 5 cop cars pulled up and had us put our arms out. I'm about to say something brutally honest, okay? First of all, you know, these police kind of operate on reward systems and catching the big fish. And y'all know I'm from Texas. I lived in Dallas. I used to work in the clubs. That whole, let me tell you something. The dudes that made the most money, that had the most money in Dallas, were the Mexican men, and it wasn't all of them. But I'm talking about the dudes who were making the real money off of selling illicit substances, the ones who was real big steppers, you know, they were the Mexicans. They was I'm just keeping it real. So when you have a police that does this job and they see these things and they know how much money is being made, they know how much trafficking is going in happening in this country, then after a while they're going to start stereotyping. And I'm not saying that, oh, this is all Mexicans participate in illegal drug trade, like illegal drug activities. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you probably have a situation where the police smelled at weed. Now they have a reason because they smell the weed. And depending on how y'all was looking and how y'all were dressed, whatever situation, he might have been like, got him, finna make a sting, we finna do a bust. That's how police operate, you know. And I would be lying I'd be lying if I said the dudes that was making all the money off of that snow, that powder in my city, Mexican men. And that's not to say all Mexican men work in that industry. But what it is saying is after a while with law enforcement, people will start to develop certain stereotypes for participating in certain crimes. And is it right? No. But like after a while, it becomes positively reinforced when they continue to have certain interactions. Then they be like, okay, I already know what I got going on here. They think they know, you know. It's not right, but it's life. Needless to say, I'm the only one with dark skin, and my friends were essentially white, and they had me in handcuffs and questioned me like I was the mastermind behind the weed in the car. I don't smoke. Dang, that's messed up. I travel often. I really want to leave the country for good, but I have a heavy chain and ball attached. Oh, I think I know what you're trying to say. Heavy chain. Okay, I think I know what you're trying to say. We'll see how you can get unattached. I do kind of agree with that. From the stories I've heard, I do not consider myself privileged and somewhat more safe, maybe. I'm from Dallas, by the way, Miss Mariah. So that Highland Park statement you said is facts, especially in the Preston Hollow area next door. Yeah, they don't want poor white folks over there. They don't want nobody walking around that area that look like they don't belong. And they definitely, you know, I feel like if you are a black person, you definitely stick out over there because they're like, how do you even have the money? You know, they don't, you know, I will say this, it's certain areas in Dallas, like if you go to Lakewood, if you go to Preston Hollow, and if you go to Highland Park, you will not find one black person that owns a home. And I think when I see stuff like that, I say, yeah, that has to be intentional because you mean to tell me there's not one black multimillionaire that wants to buy a house in these areas? Not one. They not having it over there. Matter of fact, if you go to Lakewood, go to that main street on Lakewood, we would go trick-or-treating from door to door, and there that main street in Lakewood, the men it was so weird. They had the same wives. They all had a blonde-haired, blue-eyed wife. Their children looked the same. I'm like, this got to be some type of social engineering going on over here. Okay, because ain't no way. But here's the thing, can you blame them? Because those areas are really safe. So can you blame them? It's kind of like with the president in Poland that has a unalive on site policy for anybody trying to cross their border illegally. You know, when you think about the results, that is the safest country, the absolute safest country in Europe right now. And it's in Eastern Europe of all places, right? That's where they're supposed to be in the most in danger. And it's safer to be there than in Western Europe. It's one of the safest countries in the world. Can you blame him? Same thing about what's going on with El Salvador and President Bukele, who is putting all of these hardened gang members in prison and Socote for life. His fellow countrymen used to not be able to go to the park without worrying about being unalived, and now for the first time they can take their children to the park and be safe. So it's like, when you think about these people who go through these extreme measures, though to us it might seem messed up, it might be seem discriminatory or exclusionary, when you look at the results, can you blame these people for behaving the way that they do? Or are they just being smart and pragmatic, or do they just understand human nature better than everybody else? You know, it's easier for you to just say, I'm not going to let any of these type of people in, whether they be poor or they come from a place or a country with stereotypes. It's easier, cheaper, and more effective for you to just say, I'm not going to deal with any of them at all, versus you trying to vet every single one that comes through. That is time consuming. It's not cheap. It requires energy, and you're going to have some hiccups. You might let the wrong, you might misjudge a situation and let the wrong person in, and then it completely turn your world upside down. So that's what I'm saying. People like to take the path of least resistance, and it's naive to think that people prefer to put themselves in situations that make their lives harder. And it's not about whether or not it's right or wrong. This is just simply about what the things people will do, whether you like them or not, you know? And that's the point that I want to make on my channel. I want to get people away from childish levels of thinking. Like, if you want to succeed in life, or if you want to get far in life, or if you want to be able to tell or predict if somebody is going to snake you or not, then you have to be able and willing to look outside of yourself, your wants, your needs, what you think should happen in the situation, and ask yourself, what would be most beneficial to them in this situation? What do they want out of the situation? When you start thinking about life and people like that, nobody will ever catch you by surprise, because you are 5 steps ahead of them at all times. You can predict their next move so that you can make your move. And once I started thinking like that, my whole life changed.
Right.
There wasn't a lot of Black people in there, but then that doesn't justify the fact that we're destroying each other. So even if we get to the
Nothing.
root, like
Wait, we can agree on that.
okay,
sis.
because I feel like a lot of
Nothing
times liberals will argue,
justifies.
like, well,
I'm not
the
a
white people
liberal.
are killing
I am not
people.
I'm not a liberal.
Yes,
Okay,
you
well, I
are.
will say that
Ma'am.
people that sometimes have
Yeah, you as liberal as they come.
your stance that are against conservatives, maybe they have this claim that they're making it up, they're making up the numbers. We know that we do that to each other. So I want to get to the root of the issue.
Real.
Why are
What
we
is
killing
the
each
root of
other?
the issue?
I think the root of the issue is we've lost our
Culture.
values and we've lost our resilience as Black people. We sit there and we talk about what the white man did and we talk about slavery and everything like that, but we have no self-accountability
None.
and say, you know what, at the end of the day, that is my Black grandmother, that is my Black sister, you are my Black sister, and you know that a Black man is more likely to rob you or commit some type of crime against you. And that's what we need to get down to the issue of. And like you were talking about earlier, like, hey, well, what's going on? You know, what do you think the answer is to one of the brothers that were speaking? I think it's the breakdown of the family. I think, like he said, because of our poor choices, and what happens is we look at domestic violence.
I want to say something, and this might offend some of y'all, but I'm gonna keep it real. When I look at my Black conservative sisters, they be out here looking good. I want y'all to compare this woman and how she comports herself, how she keeps herself, how her skin is looking, how her hair is looking. I want y'all to compare that to Amanda Seals, because these liberal women be out here looking down bad. I'm not even gonna hold you. They be out here looking down bad. Every time I see a Black woman who is a conservative, skin be clear, nice, buttery, smooth. She always come outside the house looking nice. these are what we call self-accountable women. Here you got Amanda Seals just scowling and looking all mean and mad. She looked like she didn't put any lotion on her face today. And that's what I say with these women. The problem is not politics. The root of the issue is these type of women have a self-esteem issue that is outside of politics, and they use politics in their education to make them feel like they are superior and winning in the world, when the reality is that you behave that way because you feel like you don't measure up in other areas. I'm keeping it all the way 1,000 here. Amanda Seals does not care about politics the way that y'all think she cares about politics. She doesn't play the victim mentality just simply over politics or because she is in fear for Black men. If Amanda Seals is not shouting to the rooftop about social justice warrior issue things, she absolutely knows she would fade into oblivion and nobody would pay attention to her. And a lot of that is because of her own doing. She could be a nice looking woman, but she chooses to be angry, have a scar on her face, blame the world for her problems, and walk outside the house looking like that, get online looking like that, and then want to whine and complain that don't nobody like her or want her. I'm telling the truth. That's the real, when you see these women that get on here behaving like that, that is the real truth.
For example, when domestic violence, women or men are even attacked, what is the first thing we say? It's like, you know what? It's not your what? It's not your fault. So that's what we do. We hold on to this narrative that, well, it's not our fault. And the issues in our community, they're not our fault. And the white man needs to give us something. The old white lady down the street is looking at me and I don't know why she got braids in her hair. And we focus on all these other stupid things that don't matter. We don't get to the root of the fact that we're killing each other at a higher rate than any other race. It is self-hatred amongst us. I believe that we can do that. That my cousin, my mom's cousin, coming from the church parking lot, and guess who stuck her up and robbed her at gunpoint? A Black man.
I need you to get to the point.
Like,
so
my
I can
point
respond.
is that, and I'm not trying to be funny, unless like you said, we're gonna keep it respectful.
Yeah, but
didn't she just get on that man? And this woman just said, this is what I say, this is the lack of empathy. Now you want us to hate white people. You got another Black woman here in front of you who was saying, my mom got robbed at gunpoint by another Black man. And then you tell her to get to the point when, like, didn't you just check this young man for allegedly disrespecting you? And all he did was say that he felt less safe around other Black men. And then you said he was disrespecting you, even though he wasn't directing anything. He wasn't talking about you. He didn't disrespect you. He didn't make a personal attack against you. And now she's telling this woman she needs to get to the point where, and she's had ample time to talk, and she wonders why people don't like her. This is a miserable individual. This is a miserable, attention-seeking individual who takes pride in feeling like she is superior intellectually over other people. So this right here, her response to her talking about all the pain that she experienced as a Black woman by other Black people, and her dismissing that should off top let y'all know this has absolutely nothing to do with her actually caring about Black people. This is not what that is about.
You're monopolizing the whole conversation.
I'm not trying. Okay, I'm gonna let you speak, but let's not get the attitudes and stuff, because you're my sister and I respect you. So
I don't have an attitude. I'm being direct to you. But
it's a complete lack of self-awareness. She has an attitude. And this type of person, y'all always talking about angry Black women. You are an angry Black woman. You, in particular, are an angry Black woman.
You're literally speaking this, and you're not going to do that with me either. So you're stating your point. And you've been stating your point for quite some time.
So say,
you have a reason for me to respond.
Would you allow me to respond? So that's a better response. Go ahead.
The response that I have for you is that everything you're saying does not exist in a vacuum. I actually agree with you in that, yes, there has been an incredible denigration of Black worth and Black pride in this nation. I think it's also very important to acknowledge what has contributed to that. And to state that it is only Black people that have contributed to that is a false flag. So we have to admit that.
She's not saying that. What people are saying is you can't force people. Okay, let me make an analogy. If you get hit by a car, let's say you get hit by a car and you have to go into rehabilitation. Maybe you can't walk, right? Maybe you can't walk. Your leg is injured. Your bones are broken. Who is responsible for your healing? Let's say you get hit by a car with no insurance. Who is responsible for your healing? The person that hit you or you? Who's going to have to do the work? Who is going to have to go to therapy? Who is going to have to suffer the consequences of that accident? 9 times out of 10, that's going to be you. Even if the person has insurance, you're still going to have to do your part. And people can talk about whether that's fair or that's not fair. Really, it doesn't matter. This is the point I'm trying to make on here. In life, you're going to have to take a lot of licks. In life, people are going to do things to you that are completely out of your control, that feel completely unfair. When I tell you, there are plenty of nights that I have cried because I tried to do the right thing by people and I tried to be a genuine person and they screwed me over, and it was up to me to dig myself up by myself out of a dark place. And yeah, there were times where I'm like, this is not fair because they did this to me. But at the end of the day, I was the person who had to be responsible for my healing. It didn't matter what I thought was fair or what I thought should have happened, shoulda, woulda, coulda. The question of the situation was, are you going to get up? And that's the problem. We have other Black people in our community telling Black people, get up. It's time to get up. It's time to stop crying, whining, and complaining about what you think shoulda, coulda, woulda happened back then, or what you think shoulda, coulda, woulda been happening right now. It's time to get up, and it's time to rehabilitate yourself by yourself and for yourself. Because that's the only way up out of this situation. And you have people like Amanda Seals who refuse to accept the reality of the matter. And because of that, the whole community suffers. So much so that if you are a Black person who wants something for yourself and does not have a victim mentality, it's to the point where you have to dissociate from people who think like this. It's like a line has to be drawn in the sand.
So in order to have this conversation around how we got here, you can't say, oh, well, we're caring about the white woman getting braids and that doesn't matter and this thing. All of that attaches.
Girl, that don't matter. That don't matter. You know why that don't matter? She's talking about how, this gets on my nerves too, this whole conversation about cultural appropriation. Do you know why we shouldn't be talking about that? Because the more y'all pick at the petty stuff, the more you cry racism for the petty stuff, the less empathetic people are to your cries about the real thing. And thus it has the opposite effect of what you intended to. Now you're rendered ineffective. Do you want to be effective or do you just want to cry and complain? Because you can't be both. Do you want to be effective or do you want to be petty? You can't be both.
of that is actually a very big part of the lack of worth of Black people.
I'll ask you, do you think we're resilient? What does resilience mean to you? Do you think we have to be perpetual victims, or do you think that Black
I
people
think
are
that those
resilient?
are two
A
different conversations.
black woman, I'm sorry, a white woman wearing braids doesn't make me feel any less about myself as a black woman, because like at the end of the day, her hair is gonna fall out and I don't wear braids anymore. So my hair is going to be growing and thriving. So I don't care. Those aren't healthy hairstyles anyway. I don't give a damn, girl. Wear the braids. Attract as many black men as you want. Date as many black men as you want to. I do not care. My hair follicles will still be intact. And that's what I'm saying. We be arguing with people over things that aren't even good or healthy for us or don't add any value to our lives. You holding on to stuff that we really should be letting go to.
I think that the concept of Black people being victims is really trying to not provide accountability to where the root problem for the actual cause is. And if we keep saying that somebody is a victim and that doesn't mean that the other person should have to actually have accountability, then what are we really doing? You can do both. You can be a victim and be resilient.
How do we do both?
Then people don't care. Let me tell you something. The economy is bad, baby girl. The economy is bad. Most of these people never owned a slave, never participated in redlining, didn't write any government policy, came to this country after the institution of slavery was already illegal. You're never going to make them feel like they have victimized you because they know they haven't. So you're not going to convince them that something happened at their hands that didn't happen just because they happen to be the same skin color of the people who actually did it. It's not happening. It's not happening. It ain't happening at all. So again, this is a pointless conversation, and she doesn't understand that it's a pointless conversation. Ma'am, go put all that energy into finding you some lotion and a good face cream and some lip gloss. Get you a good eyebrow lady that can get your eyebrows right, give you a little micro pigmentation, girl. Those dreads, I don't know about that for you, girl. But everything that you're upset about, it can't be fixed with you hating white people or arguing with white people, girl. You know who can fix it? The lotion, baby. Jergens can fix it. Go get you some Milani lip gloss. My eyebrow girl and my lash lady, they can fix it. The lady at the hair salon can fix it. You go into that gym, get that body right. When you start looking and feeling good about yourself, it's going to fix all of this. I promise you. I promise you. Y'all not going to hear from her no more. When you say white people, obviously it means the elites and those in power. Then say the elites and those in power. When you say white people, no, that's not obviously the elites and those in power. When you say white people, and then you say that, white people hear white people. That's just like if a black person was like, yeah, a white person was like, yeah, these black people, the whole black community would be like, oh, they talking about all of us. But for some reason, we expect white people to feel like they're not talking about me. They're only talking about rich people. No. That's not how that goes. You got to give the same amount of respect that you expect to give. So if black people mean they're talking about rich and elite people, then say rich and elite people. And that has nothing to do with skin color. Power is power. It has nothing to do with skin color. There are so many non-white people that have way more money, that is actually controlling and moving things, that have way more money than the average white person in America, or way more money than our rich people in America. So that's what I'm saying. Like, no, it's not obvious. When you say white people, it's not obvious that you're talking about rich white people. Well, then just say rich folks, if that's who you got an issue with. Most people, white people I know, and don't think I'm talking about them because they feel the same way. I don't hang around them type of white people. I don't trust white people that sit up and let people talk down on their race and they don't check them. Like, the white people that I do hang around with, they are not scary. They will check you like real quick. Like, who are you? You can't be talking about me. What do you mean? Like, the white people that I would hang around with will real quick get that together. I don't trust them type. Them type that are like, oh, apologetic, taking responsibility for stuff that they didn't do, or just letting too many things slide. And the white people who I know that talk about elitism and classism, they don't talk about rich white people. They just talk about rich people.
If you
No, you
stay in the
can't.
victimhood, that's my question.
No,
But
you
your
can't.
She
statement
does a
about black
great
people
question.
staying in the victim place is
How
also
do we
your
rise
point of
above
view.
it? But how do we rise above it?
We continue to rise above it by, one, pouring into our communities with mutual aid,
Exactly.
but two, by
Money.
simultaneously making sure that we are
You know why black people that have money don't want to invest their money into their hood, to the hood? And they try to. Y'all stealing from the stores, robbing, looting every time you get a chance to. Fighting in their properties. And then talking about how investment is going out of the community. So again, the only way out of this is to get your house together. Baby, the call is coming from inside the house. That's it. That's the only way out of this. All this other stuff, mutual investment, girl. If that was the problem, then that situation, that we could have solved that years ago, if that was the issue. There have not been a lack of black people willing to start businesses and invest in the black community. It's whether or not you can get them to stay or their business thrive and be successful in those areas. That's the issue. Y'all see how they did Nipsey Hussle.
challenging the systems that are in place to impede
So it's
us.
the
We have so
system.
many opportunities where we are trying to do mutual aid, and those things get disrupted by folks who want to have capitalist gain, by folks who want
it's
privatization. We used to have all these mom and pop businesses in our communities.
There's
That
over
used to
3
serve-
million
You
black
niggas robbed
millionaires in America right now. You are an intelligent black woman that is successful.
That's irrelevant.
No one's stopping me from doing anything. I'm an
That's
intelligent black woman that
Many
graduated. and
efforts
is
have
successful.
tried to stop me from doing what I do.
Who?
We are not all.
That's not just you though. I'm sure most people could think back to a time in their life. Like, let's take race out of the situation. Most people can think back to a time in their life where somebody just simply didn't like them
Equal in our
because they were them, and tried to place a stumbling block in their way or try to thwart their plans. That is called life. It's going to be people that don't like you, that are haters, that try to stop your bag, that talk crap about you to somebody who could provide you an opportunity. It's ups and downs in this thing called life. I don't know why she think that we should be exempt just because we're black. Because if it wasn't about your skin color, it would be something else. People will hate you just because of the way you look. People will treat you bad just because you're unattractive. People will treat you bad because you're overly attractive. People will treat you bad just because you're too short. People will hate on you because you're too tall. People will hate on you because you have money on more money than them. People will hate you because you don't have any money at all. People will try to shut you out of opportunities just because they feel you don't belong for whatever reason, or because they don't want to be outshined. And that's what I'm saying. This childish mindset Oh, I had to go through this, and I had people try to. Yeah, girl, if you read your Bible, they did it to Jesus. Who the hell are you? Who are you? We all have to learn how to be resilient in this life, or else it's gonna eat you alive. And then you're gonna be walking around here looking crazy, like Amanda Seals, ashy and no lip gloss on.
Capabilities. And we are not all equal in
She put some lipstick on for this. But normally when she go on them lives, y'all, she don't put no body lotion on, and them lips be ashy, and them edges, she don't even bother to try to put no gel on.
our ability to be invested in by others.
I agree with
We
you.
are not all equal in our trauma.
Are we resilient?
We can't say we because it is a false equivalency.
I
We
believe every
keep
black
trying
person
to
has resilience.
we keep
Boom.
trying
We all
to
have.
Pause it.
Man, I like her, man. Man, I like her.
I'm so sorry.
Can we
You've been
pause
voted
this?
out.
So Amanda used something as an argument. We're not all equal in our capability.
Right.
Okay, so if we know that we're not all equal in our capability, why are we sitting around crying when some people are not as successful as others? Because my argument is we're all capable to go out and find success if we apply ourselves. But her argument was, well, we're not all capable to be successful and be invested in by others.
So black people too dumb.
So
according to her.
why are they not all capable? Is it because some people make poor decisions? Is it because some people are dumber and shoot themselves in the foot, which is why they're not capable to do the same things that others are capable of doing?
Some people literally are just, I say this all the time, IQ is a real thing. And I'm not saying that like should always hold you back, but like sometimes when I'm talking to people, I have to realize when they have hit their, like genuinely like hit their capacity. And how I determine that is the level in which they are making their argument. I brought that hierarchy of argument. So if you can't get past stage 1 and 2, if you can't get past ad hominems and name calling, I already know that you have a low IQ. I already know you have a low IQ. So naturally, a person like that is not going to go as far as somebody who has more intellectual range and capability. And to act like they should be at the same level, do you know, this is the human nature of it. The people who are actually smart will be like, well, why am I putting forth all this effort? If me and this person can have the same things, or we're going to have the same outcomes in life, why should I be stressing myself out to excel when it's other people who are kicking back and relaxing and enjoying the same benefits as me? And I saw this happen in the school system when we started lowering the bar for everybody. And when you have people who feel like just en masse who have given up or feel like I don't have a reason to strive, then that's when, as a society, you don't get great things. You don't get great inventions. You don't get the airplane. You don't get the car. You don't get Starlink. You don't get trains. You don't get steamboats. You don't get space travel. Because people who do stuff like that, they have to have big audacity and big rewards. But why would you have big audacity and big rewards when there's no incentive for it? This is basic human nature that people like Amanda Seals, because they are narcissistic and self-absorbed, overlook every single time because they cannot see outside of themselves.
This
Well, I
is
wonder
so.
what that may be. I looked up how much the Houston Hoods gets basically in grants per year. I guess to build up the community is $250 million.
Compare that to the Woodlands. Can you compare that to the
I
Woodlands?
compared it to Sugarland, and it said about what was Sugarland?
They'll say Sugarland racist. Listen to the name.
Sugarland is because that's where sugarcane comes from.
It's a $500 million.
Who is?
Sugarland.
So Sugarland has more.
But Sugarland's bigger.
Than,
Sugarland has a lot more to.
So what is your point then?
I just feel like the hood gets just as much as investments, or they're not disproportionately giving the investments to just white neighborhoods and not giving them to black.
Well, I think
would say-
everyone
would say that
understands-
the investment in the nicer neighborhoods would be because there's going to be more ROI. Like there's going to be
Return on-
more people to come work in the businesses. It's going to be safer and cleaner. It's longer to last, safer to shop, things like that. And in the hood, I mean, it's
But
not
I mean,
the same.
Because of
This is basic economics. Y'all remember when I did my video about Pastor Manning and I was saying that you cannot get the average black liberal to understand basic economics? This is another example of that. This is basic stuff. Punishment and reward. Return on investment. This kind of stuff don't have nothing to do with color. It don't have anything to do with race. People like Amanda Seals want people to throw their money into burning houses just off of the strength of, I want to feel like I'm a good person. And that's not how life works. Never has worked that way.
who?
But you get it. I mean,
Come
you
on.
also
Because of the
besides the
crime?
grants, because
Because who's
besides,
committing the
The
crime?
poverty.
Because of the black people there.
but look,
All right,
besides
man,
the
I'm not-
government
all right.
grants,
Bro, let's just stop being okay,
No, no,
y'all.
no, no,
No,
but
we need to
no,
stop.
no.
We need to stop being so nice, bro. We need to stop being nice and worrying about people's feelings because guess what? That is why black people are in the position that we are in now. Because everyone cares about their feelings, and we're like, oh, we don't want to offend them, but we don't tell them the truth, and that's actually hurting them. That's actually disabling them. We need to tell them, look, black people are black people's biggest problem, not white people, not systematic oppression, not America, not none of that. And the more we avoid that to save their feelings, the more we're actually hurting them. Because once you realize the truth will set you free.
But to that, I will say this, like, because I'm talking about being realistic. The realistic thing is this situation is not like on a cultural level in mass, it's not going to change. It's really not going to change. So if you are a black person who doesn't agree with this type of behavior and you don't want to be a victim and you don't have a victim mindset, then your only option is to disassociate with people that behave like and behave and think like Amanda Seals. And unfortunately, what that looks like for you is you're going to be very lonely. You're going to have very few friends. You're going to engage in very few activities with other black people. It might even look like, I've noticed that a lot of black conservatives have to marry outside of their race because it's hard enough to find somebody that you're compatible with. But if you're trying to do it in the black race and try to find somebody that you like, that you're attracted to, y'all get along, y'all can live well together, and you're both conservative, and you're not going to have to worry about their family completely being mean to you just because you're conservative, that's very difficult to find for anybody to find. So, I feel like a line of separation has to be drawn. A lot of times, your liberal friends and family that wasn't really rocking with will draw that line in the sand, and they'll stop rocking with you the same way that they used to, and that's fine. You have to stay true to your values. So realistically, the black people that don't want to be associated with that type of behavior, you have to know that you're never going to get from up underneath that shadow because it's too many black people that don't want to do right. So what you have to do is just understand that's a part of this thing called life. People are going to ascribe things to you based off of many things. It might be your skin color, your height. It might be the way that you talk. It might be the way that you come from. It might be where you come from. So it's just an obstacle that you're going to have to overcome, and how you're going to overcome it is through your behavior and your character. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Again, there are worse positions to be in life. Every time I want to complain about how people perceive me, treat me, or think about me, I think about the fact that it's somebody that got up today and they don't have any legs. So like Black people act like we face the worst discrimination. Imagine walking around here and you're dealing with some type of handicap or disability. To me, those people face the worst discrimination. Imagine you're dealing with a situation that renders you unable to take care of yourself or provide for yourself. And then you have Black people sitting up here acting like being Black is the worst thing on this earth to be. And I just don't subscribe to that. And I can't get with people that do. With that said, guys, I got to get off this live. I got to get up for work in a couple of hours. I stayed on here way too long. But y'all hit the like button on your way out. Thank y'all for rocking with me. Thank y'all for showing up. Thank y'all for participating in the chat. And I will see y'all tomorrow. Bye.